Hello and welcome to another episode of Scenes Forwards. As you can see, I'm out with the B-Class today, and as you know, I bought this car last September, so I've had it just over a year now, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about how things are going with it, what are my sort of plans for the B-Class, and just generally give you an update with it. So if you're new to the channel, you might not have seen this car before. I don't really feature it as much as my other SLKs, and that's because this is my daily drive. It's a car I use every day, pretty much. It's very rare it actually has a day off, to be honest. So this is my B180 CDI Sport. Not really too much to say about it really. I've done an in-depth video before, which I'm sure you can go and watch. Talk all about when I bought this car, all about it. I did wash this car the other day though, and this is the main problem with white, one of the things that I'm finding. I washed it and I've literally done about sort of 20-30 miles and it's already getting caked in mud again, but that is the thing with white, unfortunately. So just to give you an overview of the sort of sport model, they do a sport and an SE. This particular one is a sport I really wanted, and the main thing, particularly living in the countryside, I find the main advantage is these bikes on the headlights. They are absolutely amazing. You also get the headlight washer, which is that little panel just there on the bumper, which is, yeah, I do like these headlights. They are very nice. You also get the little LED running lights as well, which also come on when the headlights are on as well, so you get a little bit extra light from them. Now, they are running lights, but on this particular model, you can actually turn off the running lights, which I do, because most of the time in the summer, I seem to be driving around seeing people with lights on, which thoroughly annoys me. But on this car, you can have the option to actually turn them off, which I've done. So, moving around to the front, as you can see, you've got two Mercedes-Benz badging. That's because this one had this one fitted, which is literally stuck on. You see there, it actually should have just the Mercedes Benz actual badge over, which doesn't really fit on there right. I was thinking about doing something to this, but I can't really bother because I have to take this off and then I'd have to do that. And as this car's my daily driver, it's not really worth the effort, to be honest. You have the 340 start on the front, which also has like I think it's like active brake assist or something similar to the name of that. And it's basically this little radar. It just detects whether you're getting too close to the car in front. So the only options this particular model has the option extra wheels, which are, as you can see, just nice 5-spoke silver wheels. They're not really too much to write home about, but they are very, very easy to clean actually. Little bit of a mark on there. I don't know if that was me or the previous owner. I think that might have been a little bit of me. Here is the inside of my B-Class. As you can see, it's quite a nice place to be. I have to admit, I quite enjoy driving this car. I've done quite a few miles in this car. I've done 15,000 miles, already mentioned, since I bought this car. And it's a nice place to be. It's nice and big, it's sort of roomy. You've not only got obviously the space in the front, obviously you've got the full Artigo leather in this particular model as well. You've also got then on the inside plenty of room. Apologies for my mats, they do need a bit of a clean, but you overlook them. As you can see, there's a nice big space in here, and with us having two dogs, there's enough space in the back to put the dogs in their big dog crate, and then stuff all the luggage and all the stuff that you need, and all the dog beds and all the stuff that they bring along with them as well. If you're a dog owner, you know what I mean by that. And put them onto the back seat, so it's actually a very useful car. And if we finally move around to the back, as you can see, there's a nice big boot here as well. To say, I've bought this, we've got a great big dog crate, which we absolutely love to put our dogs in and take our dogs away with us on holiday and go out for days out with them. And the only thing I find that I just have to sort of remove that. I think I've got a picture of him, the dog crate actually in there, so I will put that in if I can find it. So I've had plenty of time to actually sit in the driver's seat of this B-Class. When I bought this car just over a year ago, it had one owner from new, which was an elderly couple, I believe. And they'd only done about 40,500 miles on the car in 9 years. So obviously now it's up to 30,000. As you can tell, I've been using it quite a bit. And the one thing I will say is that actually I've quite enjoyed having this car. I find it quite a nice place to be. It's nice and comfortable. It's got everything I want. You've got sat nav, you've got your leather seats, so you've got your Zen headlights, and it's got my Bluetooth. I can play my opera music for the stereo. So everything I want, it's got all my sort of creature comforts that I need. And it's got a lot more space for me to store all my stuff in. We've been away in this car with our dogs as well. We've been there to Devon a few times. We've been over to Wales a couple of times. And been out for a few days out as well. And as I've already mentioned, you can fit the dog crate in the back. And then you can also put all your luggage and all the dog stuff as well in the back, which is so useful. Probably something I couldn't do with either of my SLKs really, didn't go away. You'd have to take both SLKs away to have the amount of storage space you have in this car alone. So I really think this actually fits the bill for me. It's just a very, I say, it's a very nice car to drive, very underrated car. And I think the one thing I'm sort of taking away from a year or so ownership of this car is actually how underrated this car is. I have to admit, I did think when I first went to test drive on, I thought, I don't think this will be a very nice car. And as I mentioned in my little driving review that I did when I first bought the car, it still feels like a Mercedes-Benz. It's using our marketing slogan of Mercedes. It's every inch of Mercedes-Benz. It's got that certain feelings. I've driven lots of other cars, and I've owned quite a few different marks of cars as well. And for me, the one thing, this still feels really good quality. It's so the specs up to a good standard, and I really like it. I really get a nice feeling from driving this car. It's I'll be honest, would I rather be in this or the SLK? Even the SLK, probably one of the SLKs to be completely bluntly honest, but it's not a bad car to drive. You know, it's not a sports car. I'd much rather be in one of the SLKs if I feel like driving. But then if I'm just going up and down the motorway, if I'm just tatting about going to town or going to work or something, whatever it might be I'm doing, this car's probably as good as the SLKs for doing that job. If it's going out for a Sunday morning drive down some very nice twisty country lanes, or if it's a car that I want to keep clean and keep immaculate, it's going to be the SLK that'll win hands down every time. But for me, I do enjoy this car. I do actually enjoy driving. It's a very relaxing car to drive. It's handling wise, it's not the greatest, not as good as the SLKs. You also sit higher up than the SLKs, so there's been a few occasions now, we're driving this for a week, I've gone out in the SLKs, I'm there bombing along thinking I'm going really quick, and then I look down my speedo, I'm on 40, and I think this is I normally do 50 in the B class in this, let alone this, and it's surprisingly you sit a bit lower. And that's another thing I quite like about this car. It's ever so slightly higher driving. It's not that massively, not like sort of a GLE that I've driven before. When I was out driving a GLE recently and the driving is that high, there was an SLK, like my sort of newer SLK, in front of me, and I could actually see over the top it and see the car in front. That's how high I was, and I think that's almost too high up for me. I like the slightly higher driving position, but it's not excessive. It's not going to be massively higher up as well, which is what I quite like. One of the other things I quite like about the B class is just how economical it is to run as well. Obviously it's £30 a year to tax, whereas both my SLKs are well over £200 each to tax, so a lot better in that. I find this one particularly, I've got about 52, 53 I think is the average, and that's over since I've reset the car and reset the mileage, trip computer since I actually bought the car, so that's 15,000 miles basically I've done. And so the average is about 52, 53, and that's, I do a bit of a combination of driving. I do a bit of motorway driving, I do some A-road driving, also some town driving as well. So it's quite a good overview really, that I think it's quite a good engine. I've had it as high as sort of 67 I think on an average, so obviously that's an average, so it is doing more than that. You probably might hit in 70s. But normally if I do a good one on the motor, I'm sort of getting around 60, 61 miles per gallon, so it's all a little bit dull. I get very excited about MPG in this car, whereas the SLKs, I don't really worry about MPG that much. My older SLK doesn't even obviously tell you, stuff that it doesn't tell you what MPG you do, you have to sort of work it out for yourself. And in terms of the performance of this car, I think the stated 0 to 60 time is 10.7, which is not slow, but it's not going to set the world on fire. You do notice the power difference between this and when you get back into the SLK, suddenly all this, the accelerator actually feels a bit more connected to the engine, shall we say. I think both of my SLK, I think my new SLK is 7 to 60 and the other one's 7.3. So as you can tell, a little bit quicker, just a little bit quicker compared to the 10.7 in this. You do sort of notice the power difference, but that's what I like about this car. You don't feel like you have to race around. You've got enough power to get you down the road. Occasionally I might like a little bit more, particularly living in the countryside. You do get tractors and you get slow moving cars down some of the country lanes. You do have to overtake them when you can, and sometimes I would like to have a little bit more power. If I know I'm going to overtake, there's 3 modes in the gearbox in this car. You've got economy, which is what I'm normally driving, at sport, which occasionally what I put it in if I do need to overtake. You've also got a manual. This one's, as I've probably mentioned before, 7-speed auto. but you do get your paddle shift, which I've never actually used. I don't really see the point in paddle shifts in this particular car. Maybe during snow and bad weather, you might want to start the car off manually and actually control the gears off. Doing that, you might want to start maybe in second gear and then control the gears a bit more yourself if it's icy conditions or snowy conditions. So overall, I do actually quite like this car. As I mentioned before, it's got a certain amount of appeal to it, and it ticks everything that I want to do. I chuck so much at this car, and it does drive in all types of weather. It's been up and down to the motorway, to Devon and to Wales, and I've done quite a bit of driving in it. And yeah, would I sort of recommend somebody buys one? Yes, I think it's an underrated car, really. So I will be doing a buyer's guide coming up in the video. So I'll be doing a buyer's guide for this car very soon. It will just be sort of similar to my SLK buyer's guide, where I just sort of walk around the car and I just talk about it basically and show you around in a bit more detail. Talk about any issues I've had with the car. Touch wood, this car hasn't had any issues. I haven't got any wood to touch in here, so I'll just tap the steering instead. And yeah, just give you a bit of an overview of the car from someone that's actually owned it and lived with this car. You know, I've had it for over a year now, so I think I'm slightly more qualified to give a little bit of a review and give an overview of the car than maybe someone that's just literally bought a car or whatever. But anyway, that will be coming up soon, but I think normal service will resume next week, so we're probably back to SLK talk. So I apologise if you don't like SLKs for that, but unfortunately a lot of people seem to. And I will say goodbye for now, and it's goodbye from me and goodbye from the B-Class, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.